Jesus will return the same way that he left. But those who have watched the skies looking for Jesus will invariably be disappointed. Watching the skies becomes an excuse for inaction, a reason to stay stuck. Looking to the heavens is to want God to do for us what we ought to be doing for ourselves. The charge that the disciples received in this text is the same charge that the church has today. It is to go out into the world and be change agents. It's not looking up in the heavens, wondering why God, through Jesus, hasn't done something about what's happening in the world. We created racism, not God. We created sexism, not God. We created war, not God. We created global warming, not God. We created food shortages, not God. We created homelessness, not God. We created oppression, not God. We created the gun culture, this gunning down our young people. God didn't create that. But it was God who created inconvenient love. Now that's probably why we struggle so hard to achieve that. See, we can do that other stuff. But the one thing God created, that's what the struggle is. God's love knows no boundaries. It penetrates the walls where humans have posted no vacancy signs. It ignores the laws that have been enacted and determined who is allegedly beyond jurisdiction of such love. And when it arrives, it does so pregnant with hope, pregnant with joy, pregnant with possibility, pregnant with peace, and pregnant with change. At a time when the world desperately needs a moral direction, sometimes the church is too preoccupied looking up than it is to be being transformed by the world and utilizing the power that Jesus left with us before he ascended. Ours is not a faith designed to remain mean-spirited and cold-hearted, hiding behind certain scriptures or more oftentimes taken out of context that justify our present state. It is a faith rooted in inconvenient love that demands that we courageously trust in God and believe in Jesus so that we can be change agents first for ourselves and then for the world that is still thirsting and hungry for righteousness. Each of us will at some point have to answer the question, Galileans, why are you standing there looking up in the sky? Sometime during our lives, we will need to make the transition from relying on the externals, which appear to dominate everything we do, to relying on the internals of the Spirit, which contains the authentic power for living. The Ascension story reminds us that we can't explain all there is about God. Thus, Ascension remains a mystery. It is as much a mystery as to how you and I got out of this situation that should have taken us out. Ascension is a reminder that Jesus is no longer with us physically, but yet he is alive and present in our lives and in the world today. Come on now. The amount of time that Jesus was in the world was but a moment. But my faith tells me that he has been with us since the beginning of time. That's why John said in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Ascension becomes a springboard that liberates Jesus to affect the world. But my struggle has always been that ascension always felt like delayed gratification. What is the relevance of ascension when the world seems all messed up right now? What is the relevance of ascension for a people in the midst of urban violence, a stagnant economy, declining education, war, poverty? But the disciples did do something that we must do as individuals if we are to realize the relevance of ascension and if the church community is to get closer to what Jesus calls us to. What did they do? They went back to Jerusalem. See, now going back to Jerusalem is going back to the scene of the crime. They went back to the place where it all came to an end. Where their dreams were dashed, where their hopes thwarted, where their lives were permanently altered. And I hear Jesus challenging us in the text not to sit on the sidelines of non-conformity by being stagnant, looking to the clouds, but having the courage to go back to our Jerusalem. Go back to the place of pain. Go back to the scene of the crime. Go back to the place where your dreams were deferred, where your hopes were thwarted, where your life had been permanently altered. Go back to the place where you thought it was all over. Because while Jerusalem was the seat of the crime, it was also the place where resurrection happened. It was also the place of the cross. It was also the place where the stone had been rolled away. It may be the place where they mocked him and beat him, but it was where they drove nails in his hand, where they pierced him in his side. But it's also the place where the angel asked, "Why seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen." When you go back to your Jerusalem, you will find out that Jesus is not in the clouds, but right there waiting for you. The reference of ascension for you and me is directly linked to resurrection. It is only when we go back to Jerusalem to face the crucifixion so that we can be resurrected. It is through our resurrection that allows us to ascend to a place that gets us closer to Jesus. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, but he also sits at our right hand, leading us, guiding us, comforting us, loving us through the pain of our Jerusalem. The text marks the last time that the disciples would see Jesus physically. But we have an opportunity to realize the relevance of ascension every time we lift our eyes up to the hills and we wonder, where does our help come from? So our help comes from the Lord. We can realize the relevance of ascension every time we walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil because thou art with us. We can realize the relevance of ascension every time through trials and tribulations we commit to the belief that they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. We can realize the relevance of ascension each time we find ourselves installed in darkness, that we can hold on to God's unchanging hand and believe the light still shines in the darkness. And the darkness cannot understand it, cannot conceive it, cannot comprehend it, and most important, the darkness cannot defeat it. It is the ultimate relevance. It's not whether Jesus ascended the way that's articulated in Acts, but the ultimate relevance is, do we have it in us to rise, to ascend, to soar? Now, as all of you most likely know, we lost a great voice this week. We did. Transitioned into eternity. Now, we physically lost the presence of Maya Angelou, not her spirit, not her words. And one of her best-known works that is, I found equally appropriate for this morning's message is "Still I Rise." It is a poem that speaks directly to personal obstacles that she had to confront, stuff that she had to overcome. And so when you listen to her speak, she does it with such elegance. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Just like moons and suns with certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. The notion of ascension is central to our faith journey. Rising is the commitment not to be hamstrung by life circumstances. It is to rise above the muck and mire of the human condition. It is to have the freedom song committed in your heart and in your soul. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Can you ascend above trouble? Can you ascend above unpredictability? Can you ascend beyond failure? When you've been pushed against the ropes, can you come out swinging? When they laugh at you, can you keep smiling? When they hate you, can you keep loving? When they knock you down, can you get up? And when they kill you, can you rise again? Can you rise above the nonsense? Can you rise above the calamity? Can you rise above the hardship? Can you rise above the chaos? Can you rise above the confusion? Can you rise above the disillusionment? Come here, Maya. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You behind nights of terror and fear